does the Bible say about tithe? Is it true that if we don't pay tithe, we're under a curse? And once you don't have clarity and you keep thinking that if you don't pay tithe, you're under a curse, there will be doubt in your mind. You will not have the confidence that you require to stand before God. And the devil could take advantage of that and rob you of all your benefits as a child of God. So that subject is important. I know that a lot of pastors, they're shaking, they're trembling because they don't want me to talk about tithe. But if you're a pastor watching, it will do you the uttermost good of your life and ministry to patiently follow through the process. I'm not looking for how to stop people from giving you money. I'm actually looking for how to help get people to give you more money so you can do the work of God. But however, it has to be done the right way, because you can never get truth out of a lie. That's why we've got to study the scriptures rightly in the light of Christ. All right. The subject of tithing. In the epistles, the word tithe is just mentioned in one chapter. In the entire epistles, the word tithe is just mentioned in one chapter. And then Jesus mentions tithe twice. Jesus mentions tithe twice. What a vital subject. Very vital that Jesus mentioned it only twice. And in the entire epistles, it only appears once. That must be some big subject. Yet it's such a major thing in the body of Christ. Some of the pastors that don't like me is simply because of my stance on tithe. They like every other thing about me, but they don't like me because of tithe. What a major issue. That it will even make pastors not want to relate with me because of tithe. As if tithe paid for anybody's sins. Now, Hebrews chapter 7 verse 4. Let's begin the journey. Hebrews chapter 7 verse number 4. Now consider how great this man, unto whom even the patriarch Abraham gave the tenth of the spoils. So what is tithe? Before we get into what is tithe, whenever you hear the word patriarch Abraham, or whenever you hear Father Abraham, any moment you hear that, he is talking to the Jews. The moment you hear the patriarch Abraham, or you hear Father Abraham, he's talking to the Jews, because Abraham is not your father. Damina is my father. Okay? Abraham is not my father. But he is the father of the Jews. So when you hear Father Abraham or the patriarch, just know he is communicating to the Jews. Then he says a tenth. A tenth. Look at Hebrews chapter 7 verse 2, please pay attention. Hebrews chapter 7 verse 2. To whom also Abraham gave a tenth part of all. First, being by interpretation king of righteousness, and after that also king of Salem, which is king of peace. Look at verse 9. Hebrews chapter 7 verse 9. And as I may so say, Levi also, who received tithes, paid tithes in Abraham. Look at verse 8. Hebrews chapter 7 verse 8. Follow the reading. And here men that die receive tithe, but there he received them of whom it is witness that he liveth. Now the word tithe is the word dekate. Dekate. D-E-K-A-T-E. Dekate. It means a tenth. And that word dekate is used 4 times. 4 times. A tenth. A tenth of what? We will see. Then we have Matthew 23:23. Matthew chapter 23 verse 23. Woe, what a good way to start a statement. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. Hypocrites. For you pay tithe of mint and anise. Underline those 3 words. Mint, you pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin. That's Jesus talking. You pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law. So tithe is of the law, but a junior subject of the law. There are weightier matters of the law than tithe. This is from Jesus himself. You have omitted the weightier matters of the law, which is judgment, mercy, and faith. This ought ye to have done, and not to leave the order undone. And Jesus, that statement was referenced in Luke 11:42. It was referenced by Luke in Luke 11:42, where Jesus also mentions it. Because I told you Jesus mentions it twice. Okay? Now, the second one Jesus mentions is in Luke 18:12. Luke chapter 18, verse number 12. I fast twice in the week. I give tithes of all that I possess. I give tithe of all that I possess. What a CV. I fast twice, I give tithe of all. Now, there's another word I want us to examine. Hebrews chapter 7 verse 5. Hebrews chapter 7 verse number 5. And verily, they that are of the sons of Levi, who receive the office of the priesthood, have a commandment to take tithes of the people according to the law. To take tithes of the people according to the law. That is, of their brethren, though they come out of the loins of Abraham. Now that word for them to take is the word apodekatu. Apodekatu. A-P-O-D-E-K-A-T-O-O. A-P-O-D-E-K-A-T-O-O is the same word in Hebrews 7:5. Now I'm separating the words for you. So I gave you the word tithe, which is tenth, used 4 times as dekati. Now don't mix them together, because the word apodekatu means to take off. To take off. To take off. Which either refers to those who gave it or to those who took it. That word refers to those who gave it or to those who took it. Please, those words are very fundamental. Please pay attention to them. But it's actually, in this context, those who gave it. To take off, which is actually to take off what you have. To take off what you have. So the word is actually from dekatu. Dekatu. D-E-K-A-T-O-O. Is to collect. To collect tithe. To collect tithe. So those who take off and those who collect. Look at Hebrews chapter 7 verse 6. Hebrews chapter 7 verse 6. But he whose descent is not counted from them received tithes of Abraham, and blessed him that had the promises. And blessed him. Look at Hebrews chapter 7 verse 9. And as I may so say, Levi also, who received tithes, paid tithes in Abraham. The kato is used for either a creditor or a debtor. So Hebrews 7:6, receive tithes of Abraham. To receive, like a debtor or creditor. Hebrews 7:9, one who pays the other, one who pays the other one who receives. So we have 2 words. Those who gave it and those who receive. Then the tenth itself. The tenth itself. There's the tithe itself. Then those who gave it and those who receive it or collect it. Why am I doing that? You will see why in a few minutes. Those who gave it, those who take it. That is what is given or taken, which is the tenth. That which is given or taken, which is the tenth. So there's a giving and a taking. So either way, we are dealing with the same concept. The word decate, which means a tenth. Now let's look at a quick view of Matthew 23, where Jesus spoke emphatically about the tithe. What is Jesus saying there specifically? Now listen carefully, everybody. Look at me. You know, some people are funny. They say Jesus there is commanding people to give tithe. Even Jesus said you should pay tithe. Sometimes you just need prayer for some people's hypocrisy, deceitfulness, or illiteracy, whichever is not forgiving. You need prayer. It's either deceit or hypocrisy, or pure ignorance. And if you're ignorant, don't talk authoritative. Don't be authoritative when you're ignorant. Let people know you don't know. Don't speak like an authority. And if you're hypocritical, well, or deceitful, is one of them. How can you say Jesus was commanding people to pay tithe in Matthew 23 when he started the statement with woe? Woe. He didn't even start with good morning. Woe. Are we here? Now, was Jesus commanding anybody to give tithe? Remember, they were doing tithe before Jesus came. It was what they were doing before he came. That's why I say, woe unto you hypocrites. You are taking care of tithe, which is a lesser matter, and you're overlooking the weightier matters of the law. Woe unto you hypocrites. So it wasn't Jesus who brought the idea. It was their practice before Jesus arrived the scene. Are we still in the building? So Matthew 23, the first thing Jesus did here should not be lost. He says, you have omitted the weightier matters. That should not be lost. You have omitted the weightier matters of the law. So Jesus identified tithing as of the law. Jesus identified tithing as of the law. If you ignore that reality, you are plain dishonest. He just said weightier matters of the law. So now let's go back to the pretext and see what brought about that discourse. Matthew 23 verse 2. Matthew 23 verse 2, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. Verse 3. All therefore whatsoever they bid you, observe. That observe and do. But do not ye after their works. For they say and do not. Next verse. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders. But they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. Now, see how Jesus talks about these same people that he told them woe in verse 23. He says, weightier matters of the law. What does he mean by that word weightier matters? That word weightier is the same term Brother Paul used in Acts 20:29. Acts of the Apostles, chapter 20, verse 29. For I know this,